by Astro, Monster Energy, Corsair, Hacks, GG Bet, and LG Ultra Gear.
That's right, it's Atlanta, and I'm gonna quote by the poet of Jermaine Dupri here. Welcome to Atlanta, where the players play, and we ride on them things, like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and the parties don't stop till 8 in the morning. And it's just about that time to get this party started here at the DreamHack Open Atlanta. We're time to get into our second match, the opening match of Group B. My name is Trey Saranthus. Welcome to the analyst desk, and I'm alongside of Bach and Dust. Guys, thoughts, concerns, questions?
That was an impressive intro.
It's the best I got.
I feel like if I was
out of memory, though.
If I was ever going to write an essay on Atlanta, I feel like I would go straight to Stunna. I feel like he's got all the facts. They'll be hearing them all weekend.
Yes, all weekend long, just like Ghost of Vitality are looking to stay alive here in Group B. That's going to be our next matchup, a best of one between the French side and what has become slowly but surely an American project that's made a name for themselves.
Yeah, Ghost has looked really impressive in recent months, especially in like ESL Pro League. I think they finished second at the end of the regular season, which at the beginning of the season, I don't think anyone would have predicted. Something about this team, it's just clicking, and I think one of the biggest pieces has been Wardell. His consistency has finally hit its peak, and you've got the in-game leadership of Steel, the coach behind them, James, adding an additional value. So I've been heavily impressed with Ghost.
No, I have been too. I think that it's really cool to see that story kind of be happening in the North American region, that Ghost is now going toe-to-toe with like staple names who have been at the top of the NA scene, or at least players that have been at the top of the NA scene for a couple of years now. Like Steel has quickly found his way back up to the top after now finally getting those opportunities to compete again.
Well, they definitely designed it that way, and obviously they had a great run throughout ESL Pro League. They were one of the first teams to qualify. But enough of that. Okay. It's time for 3 Reasons Why, brought to you by Hacks GG, and I do believe it's Mr. Dust Moret.
Indeed, and I want to talk about the 3 main reasons why this event overall means a ton to both of these teams. And we'll start with Vitality by talking a little bit about the expectations versus reality for Vitality. The expectations are high for Vitality, and why not? A lot of these names from the French scene are names that have been around for a while. They're clear veterans. They have a great track record of success in the history of CSGO. But the reality right now is that they have been struggling big time in all the online competition they've been playing. They have yet to even qualify for the closed qualifier for the European Minor. So they haven't even gotten that far yet. Like, they've been getting knocked out of open qualifiers with teams you would not expect them to. So yeah, the reality is that they are really struggling, and this event means a lot for them for that, to get back on track. We look over at Ghost. Now, this is a team that has been doing really well in the North American region, but I feel like they need a good LAN run. Like, that's the big thing that they've been missing. Like, you've seen them be able to do well in EPL, going toe-to-toe at the top NA teams. They've been able to qualify for events like DreamHack Master Stockholm over some of the other pro teams. They've taken maps off of teams like NIP and Na'Vi, but they don't really have those big best-of-3 results. They don't really have those deep runs. I feel like that's the next thing Ghost needs to do in order to kind of match up with teams like Energy and Team Liquid in the conversation of the top teams from the North American region. And then finally, you know, to cap it all off, a win at this event for either of these teams will really get them on that track. It'll get Ghost all of a sudden in the conversation with teams like Energy and Team Liquid on who really is the best in the NA region. And it'll finally get Vitality out of the slumps they're in right now from online competition. So that's why I think that this tournament for both these teams is really vital.
And that's why you should head over and check out Hacks GG. But I believe I heard the word veto. I could be wrong, but with that, perhaps we can jump right into it. This is a best of one, and it's going to be very, very important in determining what maps these teams play on, because we've talked about what team or what struggles either of these teams are going to face. We can talk about Vitality never having played a LAN, never even showed face in front of the parameters that we have here, at least. But at least for maps, is there any way on Earth we could really properly predict this one?
I mean, Train and Overpass should come out right away. Those are the permanent bans for both teams. That's pretty predictable. Mirage, maybe Nuke, and Inferno get nixed. Inferno's a strong map for both teams, so I wouldn't be surprised if they play it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's a counter veto. But it looks like we actually might be going that way. No, Vitality bans it. So that's one of their stronger maps in recent memory.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised Ghost banned Nuke. That's been one of the weaker maps for Vitality Online so far, and I feel like Steel's always kind of been okay with playing Nuke. But we kind of talked about beforehand, or at least me and you kind of privately, that we thought it would either be Inferno or Cache as the final map. And so with Cache coming out, I mean, that is certainly going to be kind of common ground, as most best-of-1 situations turn out to be kind of the middle of both teams' map pool.
Yeah, it was just surprising because there was a lot of overlap with maps. Like Inferno is an overlap map where there is some amount of skill from both teams coming into that map. I thought maybe that would leak through, but I also could see why they'd ban it. It's a little bit bizarre.
Let's start with Ghost Gaming. Let's center our conversation around Ghost Gaming. We're going to have the opportunity now to take a look at what the roster that is Wardell, Kusta, Steel, Sub-Rosa, and Neptune. Now, Neptune being the latest addition, but Wardell being the most recent in regards of news and signing to this organization.
Yeah, I mean, Wardell has been an absolute monster for this team. He's one of the guys that has been consistently putting up big numbers in pretty much every game that he plays, and he is definitely the star of this team, definitely a vital piece going into this matchup. Kusta has been pretty stable. Steel, like I said, a pretty strong fragging game leader for the region, kind of next to a guy like, you know, Nitro, who can be a pretty good fragging game leader. I feel like Steel is kind of that, like maybe alongside Stanislaw as well. I think my big trouble pieces is Sub-Rosa. Like, I think he's done really well in EPL, but in some of the offline events I've seen, he's really struggled. He's like an entry fragger, so he really kind of needs to be there. And then Neptune has had a little bit of a tougher time since recently joined this team. He's obviously very young, very inexperienced. Like I think he's actually now officially 16 years old. There was kind of a joke going around about that. But I feel like so far it's been a little bit of growing pains for him stepping up to this level of competition. So he's definitely got to keep a lookout on, because I think he does have some good mechanics, but it's just about, you know, getting those reps in.
The American Kenny S. we just saw on your stream there.
This is true. Kenneth S.
Yeah, Kenneth Suen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, this is like a redemption run for Kusta. When he had his little stint with Liquid, and he immediately got just slammed with hate because he wasn't playing that well. I think he got kind of thrown into a bad situation with what was going on, bringing in Simple shortly after bringing him in as an op. Now he's actually gone to the rifle because he's got Wardell on the team. He still represents a really good secondary op, so there's always that threat. And Steel could even also do it. You'd have a tertiary op, so if you really were feeling desperate, there's the chance to get multiple scopes out. It's probably not going to happen on Cache.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, from listening to Steel interviews, stuff like that, it feels like they are very comfortable just kind of bouncing between the two of them, depending on the map and just depending on the situation. But I mean, here's the thing. You look at Coast on that side, I mean, I feel like Steel, the in-game leader that you saw last, is just the guy that brings a lot of tactics to this map. I think he's very comfortable playing Cache. I think he's going to have that strategical edge. Very good with the functional default, but also has some really nice set pieces. I think that's what Steel's always been known for, is like kind of finding really good utility, really good timings, drilling his team, making a flow chart for his team. This is how we react to each step of the round. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for, is a nice organized play from Ghost on this map.
What you should start to look for is team vitality, and this young man by the name of ZywOo has made quite a few waves in his triumphant showing to this point. Now the real test will be, can we do it on land here in Atlanta?
I mean,
Atlanta.
I
like it.
See. You just thought of that now.
It's probably not.
You're a clever man.
Probably thought of that a few years ago, just kind of surfaced around in the banks. But
I mean, if we're looking at this team, the two pieces to really pay attention to are going to be ZywOo and Apex. Apex was one of the strongest riflers for a while in the French scene, and now you have this young gun opper from the French scene. I am really excited to see what he can do on land, but the team in general, kind of feeling shaky about them.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You know, ZywOo is obviously the first thing to look at because of how well he's been playing online and how you want to see him transition that to this type of environment. He's been far and above the best player on this team in all of their online competitions so far. It's not even close when it comes to numbers. That he's been way out in front, so he needs to keep that up. I think the other big test is NBK as an in-game leader. You know, he has really never done that long-term until now. This is his project. This is his team. And, you know, they play like a really kind of more loose, aggressive style, which is something the French teams have been known for a while.
But he has said in interviews straight up that it's not just him calling here, right? So he's going to have to rely on some of the other veteranry to his left and right, and both and Happy being one of the names that he threw in there to do that. So, I mean, yes, he's going to have a tall tasking here, but in terms of wrangling in and being this supposed French super team, the team of the future, I'm beginning to see some other teams that are creeping up on them for that title, LDLC, for example.
Yeah, also NBK did mention that he likes to give his players a lot of individual freedom. He doesn't like to really stifle their play. He likes to give them the room to work with, which is something that, you know, maybe ZywOo's very comfortable being able to have that freedom with the AWP to kind of roam around and find picks. They definitely do have set spots on this map, Cache. You know, this is one of the maps where NBK is a little bit more active, is almost like a secondary entry fragger with Apex, and RPK is a little bit more on the edge of the map by himself. They kind of swap NBK and RPK. Certainly, there's some executes where RPK will still be an entry, but like you noted, Apex is always always been that guy for the French team, that soldier, that guy always going in first, guy who doesn't really care about numbers, that will just try to lead by example. So, you know, they have heavy hitters, but the results haven't been there yet. They need this lane to be that result.
Here's a heavy hitter for you. The Ultra Gear is a powerful gaming display integrated with the highest performing functions to offer total immersion for players in any gaming environment. And that gaming environment is the DreamHack Open Atlanta, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, if you're looking at the screen right now, you should be taking part of this vote using !GG or !V to vote for victory for Vitality. And yeah, I'm not going to ask you guys again, but please spam the chat. Do what you can.
I'll get on my phone right now. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, go for it. If you were spamming chat, though, if we really had to start to narrow this one down, where would you kind of, you know, center yourself?
This is tough, man, because when you look at the names on Vitality, you'd be like, surely this team should be doing some big things in the offline environment. But I've seen Ghost pick maps off of teams like Na'Vi, off of NIP. I've seen them do really well in the NA region. They're a more known value. The sample size for Vitality, if you want to go watch their demos, is really small, and the results haven't been there to really impress you. So, I mean, I feel like you're really hard-pressed not to kind of give Ghost a slight nod just because they're a little bit more of a known value. And it seems like, at least to me, they have a little bit more of a structured and fine-tuned approach to their T-sides, whereas I feel like Vitality, I'm still kind of waiting to see how their T-sides develops. I think right now they are relying on basics and relying on looser play. I think Ghost has a deeper playbook. They have more set pieces they can go to when they need to, and they can still play default CS. So I think that I have to go with Ghost, and I never thought I would say that when I think of the players on paper, but I think I am going to take them.
My goodness, that sounds like a prediction, Dust.
It does, it is. I'll put my name on the board.
And
Ghost.
that's going to be for Ghost for Dust. Now, if we look at Bach, just going to say and remind you the parameters are this. It's Cash, it's Vitality, it's Ghost. Who do you got?
I think I'm going to take Ghost. I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I feel like Vitality just hasn't shown us enough. Like, looking at the stats as we were running through the players, they look really boosted for Vitality, but that's because they've been playing against mostly Tier 2 and Tier 3 European
and
opponents.
losing.
And losing some of those games. So in my opinion, like, yeah, the stats look good, and the numbers, even their win-loss record looks healthy, but compare that to Ghost, which is also a healthy-looking win-loss, but it's against bigger opponents, bigger events, so I got to side with Ghost.
You know, I want to believe that there's a French team in Vitality that can definitely get it done. I want to believe that they can help to put the French scene back on the map. But I have to say that experience is going to be lacking. And in this moment, obviously, I'm going to be pulling for North America's Ghost. And that's just the way it goes. I hate it for it to be a clean sweep there on the predictions, but that's the way she goes, Bub. Sometimes she goes, sometimes she doesn't.
Hey, we're 1-0 on the day.
We're 1-0 on the day, and we're also timing just right to look inside of our Twitch results and the votes that we've asked you to put in there. What do those numbers say?
I could actually kind of see where this is coming from. I think this is really just playing off name brand recognition.
Yes,
but
I
a
wanted
team
to
is
say
more
it,
than the
but-
sum of its
I
parts.
think it's also hoping that Sai was just going to hard carry. You're hoping that you get your numbers out of the other players, which I think you can. I just think when it comes to the nitty-gritty rounds, the close rounds, like who's going to nail out those 3-on-3 situations, like who's going to be a little bit better composed on team play when it comes to those high-pressure moments. And I think it's going to be a way closer game than the first game that we saw today, by the way. I think it could, you know, very well be like a 16-12, 16-13 type game. I just think Ghost is going to edge it out, though.
Well, let's edge on over to our commentators.
Sure.
It's going to be Blue and Risk. Let's hear what they have to say going into this bout. Guys, what are you thinking?
I think you guys actually made really good points on the desk. I think that this is going to be an incredibly close affair. It's
Pretty
just
cliche.
really...
Thank you, Blue. I really appreciate
Thanks,
that.
John.
Didn't even let me finish.
Wait, was an insult coming?
There was more?
There was, yeah.
Oh,
I wasn't
okay.
cut off, but I
What's up?
was ruined now, so...
Now he's mad.
We love
Yeah.
you, Blue. Thank you.
You've lost
What about you, Neil?
we,
not
yeah,
getting
we-
it
we
out.
do have somewhat of a coaching figure over there in Risk. Guy,
Yeah.
tell me about this matchup.
It's going to be really interesting, actually. We do have a few pracs against Vitality, so I'm looking forward to see what they're going to bring. We haven't pracked them on Cash, so not really sure what they're going to bring to the table there, but it's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to go for Ghost as well, because I don't feel like Vitality at this point are at a stage where they can win tournaments like this and play teams like Ghost, but in like 2 months' time, I would take probably Vitality, but it's now or never, so they have to get it done.
Well, it's now, and we're out of here for at least the time being, and you guys are going to take us into this match of Cash, 2 on the day, and let's see if we can get a third in the next map, huh?
All right.
Hope so.
Well, we'll be jumping into this match in just a couple of seconds, guys, as the players are still finishing up getting ready, but it should be just a couple more moments away. And overall, this looks to be a pretty good map for Vitality, actually, on paper. The problem is, ultimately, when you look at the matches they have played on this map, it's been, as the analysis desk mentioned, it's been against some relatively lower tier teams. So this is the first time they're stepping up to the plate. We're going to see a much higher tier matchup that they have to go up against.
Yeah, that's the problem for Vitality right now. At this point, because they're not that deep in their strat book and in their playbook and in general just playing together, they're really counting a lot on Saiwu and Apex on getting those entries, specifically Saiwu. These times we have officials against them, like it's been basically Saiwu destroying us on every single part, and then some executions coming on the back of that after he's getting like a double entry. So that's something that you have to watch out for. Like, this is the guy, the AWPer here, the young AWPer. He's definitely the player to watch without a doubt in this entire matchup. If he steps up, I see Vitality taking it. But if he gets cold feet, this is a LAN performance. This is the first time that he's here with Vitality at an international stage. If he doesn't really show up in, let's say, the first 10 rounds, this could actually be over quick for Ghost Gaming. But I hope for Vitality and the French scene in general that NBK and the boys can lead this into a close game.
You talk about how Zywoo is the player to watch, and he certainly knows that is the thing. So the pressure is on him to a certain degree as well. We don't know how exactly he's going to perform under that specific pressure just yet. So there's a lot of eyes on him, and we don't exactly know if he's going to be ready to handle it. Meanwhile, on the Ghost Gaming side, they've had a lot of experience at these types of LANs, and LANs that are even bigger than this, as we saw them play at Stockholm a couple months ago too, and they had very good series against a lot of high-profile teams. I think Nip and G2 being the ones to highlight out of those, where they managed to go the full distance with them in a best-of-3 series. So they've already proven themselves that they can contend with the best, and they're just here for another event, really.
Yeah, I think also the strategic advantage for Ghost right now, the way more solid team fundamentally in the strat book, it's way deeper. Also, we have to factor in the thing that, like Vitality, they lost their coach before this event. He's now out of the project. Of course, Ghost Gaming have James RL, who's really putting in a lot of hours together, who's still watching all those demos, planning everything. They don't have that on the Vitality side right now, so it's up to the players to just get it done, and that's Happy and that's NBK who are the most prominent figures to make that happen. And if you have to, like, get Praken, get officials, and also have two of your players like preparing for matches, that's so much time for these guys. And you also have to travel here. Like, where do you put in all these things? Because I feel like Ghost are way better prepared than Vitality at this point, just by the fact that they have way more time to do it.
I'm also inclined to agree with you in that Ghost is more prepared just when you look at the map pick they ended up going for, which is on Cache. It's not a super, in my opinion at least, not a very commonly played map for the Ghost roster. In the last 3 months on LAN, they've only played it once back at CS Summit, and that was versus Kingwin, a more lower profile team at the time. But granted, still making waves themselves in the Polish scene, but on the international stage, unfortunately, still trying to make their name out there. It was a 16-11 win at the end of the day, but that's the only LAN match they played. Besides that, they've only played really 2 to 3 online matches as well. So they definitely seem to know something about Vitality's Cache that they're going to be able to leverage going into this matchup, I think.
Of course, he's waiting to get ready to get these boys on the server. Really excited to see Apex coming back to the stage. He's one of those player names that if you go back into the history of CSGO, that's the name that'll pop up. If you go to RPK and you go back to the history of CS Source as well, like there's so many names on that lineup. Happy, of course, everyone remembers that ridiculous Deagle Ace on Inferno. There's so many things with this Vitality lineup where you want to say, okay, this should just be their match, but this is not 2014 anymore. They'll have to prove it once again that they are a world-class team, and they haven't proven that yet. I'm not saying they can't get there. It's definitely a possibility, but they haven't shown us that yet.
Yeah, RPK is another name that I'm really excited to see back in the circuit once again, especially if he can give us those very exciting LAN plays we've seen in the past. And we're going to find out about that right now, folks, as we're going into our second matchup. It's on a Cache for the second time today, and it's going to be Ghost starting on T side, going up against Vitality's CT side, and it's going to be an interesting one at that from Vitality as they get aggressive early on. Trying to send their players out from the 8 bomb site to see if they can trap a few, and it works. It finds Kusta, Zywoo, the pivotal player, striking first.
Oh, now the boost comes over. RPK will have a chance of getting at least one for free. He will get one. Goes for the second duel. Does damage, but taking out Wardell, picking up Zywoo, and that's a big opening coming in for Ghost that will now take this bomb site.
And that, but they're going to move in. They go for the plant. They don't even realize there's still someone sitting on the site. Subrosa as well is late to realize it, so Happy gets away with murder for free. Picks up a second kill on top of that, and it's NBK that shuts down the final player, giving a solid opening pistol over to Vitality.
So this is a great example of some of the things that Vitality can do to kind of put a stop to the general big machine that is Ghost Gaming at this point. They can do something very aggressive on both sides. They can kind of go straight in the face of the opposition, do something that you're not going to count on. For example, like 4 people pushing towards that 8 bombs, pushing aggressively. And that just catches Ghost Gaming off guard, because you can see they were trying to get up and set up and execute with smokes and flashes and everything. And then all of a sudden, Zywoo just comes in, runs in, and gets an opening. And that's one of the things that Vitality can do and will be probably successful in as this game goes on, because Ghost represents the playbook, the strats. everything's planned out. They have good players in every position, and Vitality just presents like raw skill and like legendary CS names who in a 1v2, 1v3 can step up and get rounds done.
Yeah, so already just basically trying to throw a wrench into the gears of Ghost's game planning, basically by throwing that very unorthodox pistol strat at them, and it works out perfectly. Great stuff from Vitality to throw off Ghost's game right from the beginning of the match, and they knew that that was probably going to be needed to get an advantage early on, so they're so far playing this game properly. And of course, we'll have to see how this follows through onto the first couple of anti-ecos they'd work with. This one obviously being a bit more high pressure, considering that Ghost still had the money to invest into it. With armor, Deagle's primarily coming across the board here. Ghost is taking a nice slow approach to the round overall.
So Broza in middle, Cyrus on the close angle to the right. Such a dangerous player with the MP9, and of course gets it as well. That's just something that he'll always just do. Like, you know, straight 1v1 duel, if you don't have a refrag potential, like, he's just gonna take that frag. It doesn't matter what kind of weapon you have. Desert Eagle doesn't matter. He only has the MP9, he still makes it work. He's just such a strong player and will play unorthodox positions. But Steel, sneaking in, gets a free frag, push from the right side from his teammate, but Happy will come in with a frag, and now it's all on Steel. 1v4, and he's a great player, but there's no way he's gonna get that one to go, and BK with a double to make it 2-0 for Vitality.
Yeah, not enough side control, unfortunately, there for Ghost to really try and work off of and be able to get full A control. So they fall just as they're moving into the site there, and the remainder of their players are picked off one by one to give it over to Vitality and at least confirm that lead to start things off here, putting Ghost onto their first full eco as well, and they're only one that we'll see for some time, as they should be buying up right after this.
So we're going for the MP5 here. Interesting choice. We're actually seeing a lot of players go for this when you're up against the full eco over the MP9, which is kind of strange, but had the MP9 last time around, now goes for the MP5, seeing what kind of change he can make, and that's what you get. But Apex with the spray down only gets the first one. Nate goes in, he's gonna stay alive.
And still has more pressure coming at him regardless, but is holding out against it, tries to go for the quick Deagle swap. He will finally fall to Wardell, but it matters very little, as RPK's their second player to pick off the 3 remaining players and give a solid third round of Vitality, setting them off well at the start of the match.
All right, now it's time to shine for Ghost Gaming. This is where they need to put their foot down. I'd love to see a great execute with a lot of utility, which is basically what you can do against teams, CT teams who are trying to take control and trying to kind of out-duel you. You can use your utility to kind of shut them down and then just go straight for the bomb site, straight for the juggler. And with 5 full sets of utility on all players, then this seems could be a possibility. Saiwu not upgrading at all, still on that MP5. We have NBK on UMP. This is a big chance for Ghost to just bounce back in the game.
The Ghosts are still going to take a very slow approach to the start of a lot of these rounds too, holding back in that usual setup that you would expect. They've got 2 holding to try and fend off any pressure from Vitality from the B side of the map. They're not too worried about anything from the A side, but they are going to do this boost up to try and catch the white box player. And they're getting close to lining up the angle, just not seeing any success just yet. Nades to clear out the upper B halls, eliminates RPK, but there's response sent on to Kust in the process. He's dinked down to about 10 HP. Happy also taking a lot of damage from the exchange back in mid as well.
This is where the mid-round call needs to come in. What's the play here now? We have people spread out in the default. You have the one-map advantage. RPK has gone down. You know Happy's at least taken some damage. But what's the play here? What's the idea for Ghost Gaming? NBK will go aggressive and find one in A-halls. And now it's down to a 4v4. Kusta low on HP as well.
And
it's going to be the big push.
Yeah, NBK's going to be realizing he's got no pressure against them in a second, but at the same time, Ghost are slow to send their nades into the site. Regardless, they've got all 3 of the other players from Vitality here to set against them and defend it. In they're going to go. It's the messy position for Zywoo that he's caught in the open. There is a trade that comes in quickly from Happy and Apex from back inside of Checkers to shut down the rest of this push. Down to Steel and Kusta, but Steel will get destroyed by a nade, and Kusta is still locked on the outside of Checkers with only 20 seconds to play this 1v2. He's still committed to it. He's going to go for it. Just whether he can actually get anyone into the open, and unfortunately won't be the case. They'll be shut out by NBK, and it's a 4-0 start for Vitality.
Very nicely done by Vitality as well to reading the T-side play, because they were so slow in that mid-round call situation. They actually lost a player as well. So there were 3 CTs on that bomb side. Yes, Cyrus was caught off guard with the explosion flash, which is kind of pretty standard to throw that in and execute like that. So kind of worried for him that he didn't go for a safe spot. But then again, they have 3 players on the bomb side, and they can just lock it down when that push comes because they've read the situation so well. And that's something that never changes. You can go out, be out for a couple of rounds, a couple of years, but you never forget CS.
Look at this. We've got Ghost just outright forcing the issue this time onto the B on the A bomb site. They're going to force their way in, and so far it's worked out all right. The problem is they're not able to get the control they need for a plant. And now Vitality have regrouped after a momentary lapse, and they're starting to move back in. It looks like they'll get the plant off at minimum. The nades are chunking down the HP from Ghost here. 3 players, Steals, Sabros, and Wardell, all afflicted by the nades and are brought down so low, and just no trades are being found. Finally, there's one from Kusta, but it's a small gesture, and he is immediately traded a second later anyway. Down to just Sabrosa now in the 1v3 as Vitality have moved back in. And for sure, have this retake on lock with just the elimination of Sabrosa. He's got nowhere to go. And there we go, nowhere to hide either as ZywOo finally closes in from the other end. Plenty of time for that defuse, and it'll set Vitality up to 5.
Still a pretty decent round though. Like a couple of pistols, some utility, you get the bomb down and get 2 frags to kind of deny the rifles being taken over by the opposite side. So not a bad round from Ghost, but at this point, like they need more than just the economy. They need to get around on the table now. That's also the problem playing a team like Vitality where the players are so good and they have so much experience. If you just give them the momentum, they'll just revert back to 2014 mode and ZywOo and then just destroy you, completely run you over. And I've seen that happen with a bunch of teams where you kind of underestimate them because you think, okay, yeah, they're like these old players, they haven't played for a while. If we can shut ZywOo down, we can win the game. If you kind of underestimate them in that point, then you made a big mistake and they will take control over the game. So now Ghost, they need to get something done now. Wardell with the AWP needs to get started off. Kusta only on 1 frag so far as well. Full setup on the CT side.
At the very minimum, they made some momentum to get their first plant on the last round anyway, so they've pushed it that far. But they more need that plant for the extra money, I think, more than anything else here. Boost up their economy just a tad, so they're not going to be on the brink of being broken after every single gun round, basically. So this at least fortifies their economy a slight amount. But we've yet to see a really good post plant be set up by them just yet either here. And that's going to become a key issue if they're not able to do that on this pivotal first real full investment on a gun round. Or at least on round 8 when we would expect the next one to come around should they get dropped by Vitality once again here.
DK in position, getting flashed off, and now Push is going to come in towards A main. Does not hit the first one and now tries to go for the second, but 4 control has been taken. He hits that one though, Steal with another one, and NBK with the AWP just striding through them. Wardell answering back, and now 2v3. Bomb's not planted yet though.
Good trades coming in, and ZywOo actually burns out in the volley that was sent by the back of quad. Kusta picks up another frag as well, and all of a sudden Ghosts are thrust back into the round. They find the last man standing. They've got him pinched to a certain degree back down over here in mid, but no, Apex finds the kill on Kusta, but Wardell ready to take the shot from quad, shuts out Apex, and finally picks up a round for Ghost.
That's exactly what they needed Wardell to kind of step up. 3 frags in this round, very nicely done by him. NBK with the AWP actually doing a decent job holding down that bomb site, but just needing a tad more in the end from the defense of his teammates. And now first round on the board for Ghost. Luckily for Vitality, plenty of money to go around, no worries. They're gonna have full setups, 3 kits as well. No AWP this time around though. As the scoreline reads 5-1, and Wardell is still up with the AWP. Missing that one though.
Just off the mark on that shot, however. Waited maybe another half second or so, and he might have been able to strike with it, giving them an early kill this time. But won't be the case. Vitality will remain 5 strong for now. Ghost, unfortunately, with the damage on Kusta, will have to remain very careful about the way they approach things the rest of this round. Once again, playing it nice and slow into that usual T default. Nothing too exciting happening here, but ZywOo just decides to peek up from White Box right into Wardell's crosshairs. Since there was no other pressure in mid, he was allowed to peek out from the mid garage and shut down ZywOo.
That's one of the problems with a player who doesn't have that much experience and is so like self-confident in every single duel because he's just used to winning everything. He will sometimes go for like 40-60 duels which are not advantageous for him, and basically he will lose if he comes up against a good player. And that's exactly what happens here. He should not have peeked in that duel. And Kusta now trying to open up on the B side, but that's a fake. The real push is here, but Happy's here. Up on the boost spot, finds 2, but Wardell answering back.
Shot spot works out well to provide a surprise at minimum. There is a trade from Neptune, though, which will now clear out the site and put everything into the hands of RPK. This is somewhat winnable for him to play off of. Unfortunately, no real utility to get him back into the site, but he's got Neptune incredibly low, and he moved very quick on that rotate. Already pretty much arriving at the bomb here. Was hoping to maybe catch 1 or 2 players from Vitality on their rotate back into safe positions, but he's missed that mark, which has obviously made this retake that much more difficult. Now moves in, he's going to try to strike towards A main first. That's the easy kill. That's the one against Neptune is already low. Looks for Wardell as well, but again, he saves the day in the final 1v1. That's 2 1v1 clutches in a row for him to shut things down and get his team onto the board.
Back-to-back 3-kill rounds as well for Wardell. Very nicely done by him. And that's kind of the difference you see so far in the game, in the matchup so far, is that Wardell is stepping up, getting huge frags, left, right, and center. And on the other side of things, the other young AWP star is not showing up. Saiwoo's not been like connected to the server yet, one would almost say, because usually when he goes into a game against an opposition that's slightly talented and actually knows how to play CS, he'll just step up. But right now we haven't seen that. And that might be this LAN factor coming in, because he knows there's a lot of pressure on him. He's been playing so well online, and now it's time to show it on LAN. And that can be very scary to do for a young player for the first time, internationally at least.
Ghost are going to be putting a lot of their pressure towards the B site once again. It's been a few rounds since they've attempted this, as there's been A takes the last 3 rounds overall that we've ended up seeing from Ghost here. Now they're finally trying to go back to B, which unfortunately hasn't been too successful for them. So in my eyes, this is a little bit of a risk, but at the same time, they've got Vitality on an eco here, so if there was never a better time, then this would be it. NBK is going to take out a battle early in mid, unfortunately a losing one at that. It's brought down to 16 HP, just barely gets behind the white box in time and backs away to now give mid control over away to Ghost, and this pretty much initiates their B hit with still a little under a minute on the clock. Plenty of time for Ghost to play off of here as they're going to start walking into the B site.
Just a couple of pistols to hold back. These incoming terrorists, RPK taken out quite easily, and now the B bomb side is completely clear. Apart from Apex. He's going to be taken out easily. No worries there, and that's usually how it goes. Unless like the first guy with the Desert Eagle hits some kind of amazing shot, you can pick up the AK and throw that around. Maybe you have a chance, but in this scenario where the entry frags are opening up for the T side, they're just taking the bomb side. There's just no way. Like, there's no way NBK or Happy is going to get anything out of this round. The best they can hope for is that someone messes up and they're going to get a free shot in and deny one weapon. That's best case scenario.
Yeah, NBK, as you could see a few seconds before, was already hunting to make sure they didn't have someone in mid to backflank these guys and just take them down outright. So they were already kind of looking for exit options at this point. Not really any way to get back into this site. Granted, as well, it's a 2v5, so that's also thrown a pretty heavy amount of odds against Vitality here. Nothing they can do. They don't really have anything to save either, so they were trying to sit on the inside to hopefully pick out someone who might have been in checkers lurking around at the last moment. But alas, nothing's really going to be found by those players, and one actually dies in the explosion. They move in to pick up guns, but at the end of the day, only one player from Vitality will be able to save.
So here we go. Happy, you can just see on the far edge of the team, thinking, how can he bring this team back into the game? Ghost now with some control compared to the great start from Vitality, and now we do see Apex on the AWP. Interesting choice. Wardell on the other side, of course. And Apex is actually here. We might see a duel, but Kusta going in first. AK-47 in hand, RPK, of course, the henchman on this B-bomb side.
RPK definitely wants to try and challenge a little bit here, or at least is thinking about it. They're trying to figure out how exactly to weigh this pressure, considering the smoke that's still set up back by the main entryway, but these nades are probably going to throw away any of those aggressive plans as Ghosts are already setting up to move up to checkers once more.
So the idea with the setup that they have on the B-bomb side with an AWP on Apex is that you want RPK to kind of bait out the position, and then when you think, okay, there's an M4 in this position, that's when the AWP just comes in and just goes straight in with your, like, gets the kill. But what then Ghost are doing on the other side is just smoking off different angles and pre-firing them, so there's not going to be a chance. They've completely read this play. They just go through them like a knife through butter, and there's no chance whatsoever for Vitality to hold this. And another great execute onto this bomb site, and it seems like they found the breach in the armor. Vitality's B side, that's where you go.
That was a really good follow-up that time, I have to mention, from Kusta to finish off RPK, because RPK is still panicked at that point when he loses Apex and is trying to get back behind cover. Kusta pushes out pretty much the exact moment he's looking away, so he's able to catch him just before he gets behind coverage, and at a point when he can pretty much win that duel outright, as he saw. He still makes it out with 68 HP. Really good stuff from him. It's now just a matter of hunting down the last 3. Unfortunately for Sabrosa, things don't go too well for him, getting knocked out by Zywoo. But overall, Ghosts still have complete control this round. Once again, are on the hunt for saving players on Vitality at this point.
Yeah, like with the economy on this team, Sabrosa can also by himself, like they can easily afford to at least throw one more into the fray and just say, yeah, we'll trade 1-for-1 on steel. That's not a problem. But it looks like none of the Ts are going to be close enough to any CTs so we can actually see trades coming in. It's going to be 5-4. Economy still strong on the T side. Definitely bringing all those weapons into the next round.
So at the very minimum, that's going to keep Vitality's economy alive here. The fragging potential hasn't been there the past couple of rounds. They've at least done a good job of maintaining the status quo and keeping the pressure constantly on Ghost to stop these from being very straightforward and easy rounds to not only take their lead back, which is going to be coming up on this round potentially, but also allow them to maintain their own lead and potentially push ahead. So Vitality at the very minimum is still keeping the fight going here. The problem is they just haven't had any success of their own in the last 4 rounds now.
I like them taking this pause right now, Vitality, because they also see the problem that is the B bomb side right now. The terrorists are going to get like a couple of easy entries and then they just lost the side and lost the round on the back of that. So they have to rotate something. They have to do something different. The only round where they're actually won when the terrorists have been executing B is when they had 3 players stacked on the bomb side. And you can't count on that every single time. So you have to kind of make some kind of change that can counter whatever Ghost are doing towards B, and that's why they take this timeout, because they have to find a solution. Because if they don't, then this can go very quickly. ZywOo, though, with an aggressive peek and an aggressive play towards B now from the T side, so Rosa and Steel both going to get entries, at least one entry. Apex is not picked up. They didn't clear the corner, but still with another one, and then that should be the round. 3v3 retake, maybe. If ZywOo gets something crazy, maybe they'll go for it. But one thing you have to remember as well, there's no Molotov to clear out these corners. Yes, there's a nade, but it won't really work that much. So unless they get like free opening, they shouldn't go for this, I feel like.
They've got a smoke. Maybe they can use that at door to try and get over towards the generator or something like that, but that'd be the only option. However, here's an opening, so now they're going to commit to it, and we can see the 2 players on the CT side immediately working their way back too. In they go, with ZywOo leading the charge. He immediately knocks out Steel. It's down to Ward L once again, but he's completely out of position. He's just been noticed. He's found the kill. The molly going down should have been on top of the bomb, but no, completely off the mark, and it's just a hell defuse from ZywOo that picks up the round for Vitality, maintaining their lead, just barely, but maintaining it at 6-4.
That's also such an unfortunate duel to lose against from Neptune in that situation. The second that they get an opening in the 3v3 retake, they're going to go for it, and then the round is completely open. If he can just hold back and draw out the timer and just play defensively, they're going to win the round, but he wants to go for that frag, making sure that he can lock down the round, and that's something that you see a lot from younger players. They want to take the game into their control and say, okay, I can be the difference maker, but in these kind of scenarios, waiting is actually better. Let's see ZywOo, if he can take the challenge here towards Steel, he burns him away and takes him off with the P250. So A-Hall's control being taken, deep smoke will drop, and a 4v4.
Just a 1-for-1 trade for the time being. ZywOo's going to get the op out of there, along with the M4, just to keep the presence away from the members of Ghost. They don't know exactly how they're doing just yet. It served its purpose, and Ghost have not only given wind to that smoke, but they've backed away from A-Main entirely, as now they've sent pretty much their entire remaining player base over here towards the Squeaky hallway instead, just leaving Coast to lurk a little bit here towards the mid now in the mid-round.
ZywOo switch back over to the op, holding the long-range angle. Explosion at the door about to come in, and Happy's rotating away. They might have heard these footsteps, the 2 players in towards door. And ZywOo just a single pop flash in from the door. He's going to be stopped, and that's going to be the AK from Neptune stopping him. No need for the flashbangs, and now they've taken control over this site, and Happy must be scratching his head right now. Why did I rotate away? Why did I leave one player on that bomb site where they could just run in? This is a big problem. Kust also picking one up, and the round is pretty much over at this point. Very nicely done.
Kust as well, somehow getting past NBK for a moment before going back in to take the next fight. Brings us down to a 2 versus 3 now. Vitality, as you were saying, unfortunately the round is pretty much done at this point, so Vitality are not really going to have any choice but to start falling back from their positions at truck and mid, and just to save these rifles once more, as Ghost have just brute forced them once again, and because of a poor setup from Vitality, because of the early rotate that you were mentioning from Happy, leaving only one player, ZywOo, in a bad position to defend that A site from a Squeaky hit. It's
also so hard when being on an op, alone on the side. There's very few positions you can take if they want to run an explosion play, especially out of the door. Like, it's such a hard setup. And ZywOo is definitely also feeling a bit betrayed here, being left alone on this A-bomb side. Knuckles all around from James, the coach of Ghost. Definitely one of the more analytical former player himself, of course, as well on a decent level, so he can bring something to the table, not just getting players hyped and making sure that all the small different deals in the team are on point, but also taking those timeouts and saying, okay, guys, this is what we got to do to win now.
Him and Steel have a really amazing technical mind for CS when it comes down to like really minute mechanics of the game. Whatnot, something you can really respect about the way that they actually improve the team and whatnot from a day-to-day basis and how they work it. They do take a very tactical approach to everything, and that's very different to a lot of teams of this caliber in NA, that's for sure. So it's a very good change, and I'm happy to see these two working together because I think they're a great match.
Also just shows that like there's talent in NA, and if you approach like the strategical way of playing Counter-Strike, you can have a team that's actually really doing really well in the top part of the international scene. It's just great for NA Counter-Strike to see a team that can really do that, because when you look back at the Cloud9, it was more based on the firepower and just going in and owning the duels. This is a different type of Counter-Strike we're seeing. NBK trying to go for the duel, in towards the door. We'll find Neptune. The rest of the team getting ready to pounce from A halls. Flashbang.
Yeah, they get countered, unfortunately. Just as their Molly was going down, too. At the very minimum, it's going to reposition ZywOo, and Wardell will be able to catch him because of that, constantly being found in bad spots. But NBK is keeping the dream alive right now for Vitality. 2 quick kills from him. Happy's found a third against this A main push, and it's all down to Kusta now, who's put into a 1v4. He starts it off strong, but unfortunately falls to Happy just moments later. And with that, Vitality maintain their lead again. It's 7-5 now.
And once again, this is exactly the same as the B round, where they stack 3 players on the bomb side. They have three players on the bomb side. ZywOo will die early on to some kind of stupid duel because he's overconfident and wants to go in. Like, that's just fair enough. But the rest of the team, because they've rotated another player in, they're still able to hold down the bomb side. That's really nicely done by Vitality, just getting the read on the game, getting the right rotation in, and that's what we need to see them do on a consistent basis, because we only see it in one-off rounds when they get this done. They need to do it consistently on this side.
And Ghost is going to pick up the pace again. This is what they did when they started losing too many rounds previously, too, if you remember. But obviously that increased pace is going to stop as soon as they get to the edge of white box at mid. More is the shock and all strat to take mid control, and they're going to try to quickly transition it into a B hit, too. But they don't have anyone in the halls because they needed everyone to take mid, so it's going to be very awkward as they try to shift this, considering ZywOo's position inside of Sunroom. This is a major pain in their butt now.
Apex also in a nice corner position. ZywOo will be taken out because he's so aggressively positioned, and Kusta will get one onto Apex. And now, once again, the bomb side is open. Yes, they have players ready for the retake, but they're behind the smoke wall. The bomb will be able to go down, or they're going to have a post-plant scenario with 2 Molotovs as well remaining. So the CT side now has to make a decision. What is the plan? What is the play? How do we get in here? They're probably going to rely on NBK getting that back flank.
The utility really selling it here as well once those 2 mollies start to go down. There's the first one at Heaven. NBK is actually going to be a lot of just walk right into Checkers, because they don't have someone directly interfacing on top of it. They've actually put their third player back in Sunroom instead. It's Wardell watching the long watch on the op over there. So at the moment, NBK's been able to sneak in pretty much scot-free, but there's the push from Subroza, catching him completely off guard, and he flips around to find RPK a second later too. So great stuff from Subroza, leaving Happy all alone in the 1v3, and he's not even going to stay that way for long. Kusta makes an aggressive push to hunt him down, and he succeeds in it as Ghost find themselves another pickup here.
Really close game actually so far in this first half. Very unfortunate for NBK, who's definitely been individually, I feel like, one of the better players on this Vitality lineup. And that's actually also something that he said. I read in a recent interview that he feels like a lot of pundits and general CS fans are saying that they're just like a team based around ZywOo, and the strat is just go kill ZywOo. Just go aggressive, whatever, and get an opening, then we can do something on the back of that. And he's saying that that's not the case. They actually have more depth. They have several other players who can step up. And we're seeing that right now, because ZywOo, yes, he's having a decent game. He's not having a bad game of any sense. He's like lying around a neutral scoreline. But it's NBK, for example, now stepping up, because he's getting the space. No one is counting on him to make the plays. And in this situation, yes, he messes up. But in general, so far in this map, he's done really well.
Absolutely the case. Pause now concluding for Vitality, though, is going to take us into these last 2 rounds of the half. And unfortunately for Vitality, it's going to start them off on pretty much a full eco round. We've got, I think, 1 or 2 P250 buys, a 5-7 in armor on RPK, but that is quite literally it. And once again, they've tried to get a little bit aggressive with extending all their players out from the B site. And in just a solid, 10 seconds, that round ends. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's usually how ecos go if you want to go for a quick play. In those situations, yes, you can go for a flash into Sunroom or an explosion flash out of B halls, but they just go for the complete dry setup and say, okay, we're not going to invest anything into this, and they're not going to get anything out in the other end. So now we made it to the last round of the first half. It's a scrappy buy still for Vitality, but yet a chance for them to get an 8-7. Ghost, I feel like, probably going to be expecting that 8th round coming in on that T side. Also, one thing statistically, they win like 55% of the rounds on the T side of this map, so kind of expected for them to take a lead. So 8-7, to be honest, is fine for Vitality, even if they lose this last round. They definitely can still bring it back on the T side.
And even for Ghost, they're still relatively happy with this outcome, considering the way that the map actually started off for them, which wasn't too great. They rebounded very quickly, though, and have been able to keep a close scoreline since then. So I don't know generally how Steel judges the team's performances when they end up more closely like this, but considering the raw individual skill of Vitality, they should be in a calm state right now, at least from my perspective. 2 quick kills to start off the round for them, as well as, if they're not feeling good, going to make them feel a little bit better now, as they're in good position once again to try and walk right through and get an 8-7 lead for themselves.
And that's such a hard thing when you're playing on a setup where you know, okay, our weapons are not going to be just as good as our opposition. We're not going to have as much utility. So you're in the mindset of you want to find an early advantage for yourself, and 2 players will go and try and get that. But the second that you do that against a team who's properly set up, they're just going to counter you completely, and you're going to lose those 2 duels straight up. And it's a dangerous mentality to have on the CT side, that you feel like you have to gain back the advantage. Just play on your usual strength, just play in your setups, instead of go hunting for an extra pick or a free frag at the beginning of the round, because against a team like Ghost Gaming, you're not going to get that. That's not a possibility.
Well, here comes Ghost now with a full-on execute, and it's going to be on the A-bomb site. There is a secondary player here from Vitality early on, but don't get yourself wrong. ZywOo is where all the pressure has been sent towards. Hoppy actually ends up getting eliminated first off, and ZywOo ends up being the last one alive. Less than 10 seconds for the plant. Now he's going to move in, takes another player. He successfully delayed this long enough. I think he's going to run the timer out. Holds into the cubby, and that is it, ladies and gentlemen. ZywOo holds out inside of the cubby and closes out the 8th round for Vitality out of absolutely nowhere.
That's such a hard run as well for Ghost Gaming, because they feel like 9 out of 10 times they should have that win, and because of ZywOo just puts in that factor. That's actually the first round of this entire game we've seen him do things that he does online, like playing around the forklift area here, just picking frags left, right, and center, and playing it smart in the end, just hiding, knowing that he can win based off time. And that's just a stab in the back for the Ghost Gaming guys, who felt like that round was definitely theirs to get. And now it's going to be, 8-7. I think actually should be the other way around. ZywOo definitely trusting that one out, so Vitality will be on 8 and Ghost on 7 rounds as we head into that second half. But once again, exciting that we finally see ZywOo join the game. It's not because he's had a bad game. He was 10-10, and he's been on that neutral scoreline since the beginning of the game. But just coming in clutch that last round, that's going to give him some energy going into that second half as well, where he's going to be on the T side, the more explosive side, where he can take control.
It's very surprising he pulls it off, considering you expected him to be the first one to go down in that fight too, considering he's playing from forklift. But he jumps out late. This was something I noticed later on as we were actually watching that round unfold too. Is he didn't jump right out and take the fight from the start. He wanted to kind of fish them in a little bit and jump in from behind and do exactly what he did. So it ends up working out really well. He does debate his teammates a little bit to pull that off, but the results speak for themselves as they steal away around it. Up to that point, they had no business losing whatsoever.
2 smokes, 2 flashbangs, and a nade on the T side. Setting up for now towards an A play, but that could very easily go the other way around. This could be the fake. The 2 smokes into A, and then 2 guys running in, and then the rotate going back out to the B bomb side, picking up the bomb. But let's wait and see. ZywOo will die off early on, taking a chance duel and losing it. Wardell with another one. They're just allowing Wardell to have direct 1v1s with a USP on medium range. That's just not good enough.
And now that he's destroyed all the pressure from A-main, he's still cautious of it too. You can see he's trying to get more adventurous. Look for the duel versus Happy as well from inside of Squeaky. Hasn't been given it just yet, however, as he's still very precarious about the A-main positions, and he's right to be so, as NVK has also walked inside to challenge this, and he too is getting destroyed by Wardell. Let's see if he can make it 4. No, Sabrosa will come in for a bit of an assist there, but hey, it keeps the players from Ghost flawless so far on this pistol, as we are now down to just RPK in a 1v5. He knows he can't win it, so he just takes the fight back out through A-main, and with that, gives Ghost a flawless opening pistol on CT side.
And that's, again, a question of the strategical depth on the T side of Vitality. What do they have in store? The second that, the 2 first players dies in straight up 1v1 duels, that's, of course, a critique point in itself. But when that happens, the whole round just ends. No one knows what to do. It creates this big, amount of chaos in the round that, once again, allows Wardell to take these secondary picks. And it's a big problem for a newer team when you can't really, if you go down on a deficit, get 2 frags against you in the early part of the round, if you can't bring it back from that, if you don't have a plan, then it's going to be hard getting rounds against good teams. And that's where Vitality wants to be. They want to beat good teams. They want to beat teams like Ghost on a regular basis, or at least that kind of skill level. And they're not, able to do that right now.
Ghost at the moment just trying to use a whole lot of utility to hold back Vitality. They still managed to breach their way into mid, at least partially. As a reminder, Vitality's working with very minimal gunpowder on this one, so the odds of them picking up the round to begin with are pretty slim, as Ghost have now found 3 quick kills for themselves. ZywOo and RPK are all that remain on the Vitality side. And ooh.
Oh, Kusta. Straight taking out ZywOo, completely ice cold killer. And Saiwu's just going to be scratching his head.
Oh, he had to take
Okay,
a second.
what
I
happened there?
probably would have had to do the same thing. He had to take a second, like, will this knife work?
There's only one
For
way
this
to find out.
orientation?
There's only one way to find out. You got to go for that jump.
We'll get a nice replay of
Gotta
that, of
take a
course.
chance.
Strategically positioned so he would still get the backstab on his leg, I think that was, or wherever the hitbox would have connected. So it works, so he'll get the knife credit for that one. A cool 1800 bonus for it as well. And Ghost will, of course, now shoot ahead at 9-8.
This is the bonus buy. For Ghost, we still see Sabrosa on the MP9, Kusta on the MP7. So if they can get this one to go as well, that's going to be a big economical advantage. But Steel on the opposite side of the map. Another one drops for him. He gets the double the collateral. Steel, what is going on? He gets 3 kills and just holding strong still. Are you kidding me? Not going to get another one. That would have been absolutely insane. But Saiwu bounces back. Hopefully the young Frenchman can bring it back now.
Who else but Zaiwu, of course. Now he's got to carefully read out the rest of this position inside of Checkers, and the site to begin with here too is Sabrosa's moved up. He knows he has the bomb down, so he's going to try to play as close to the chest on that bomb as possible. Zaiwu still not able to trace out where Sabrosa's at, but Sabrosa at the same time surprised doesn't get the kill. It's Trades going back to back to back now, as Happy also finds one from the outside of Checkers. But unfortunately for Happy, he's been left as just the last man standing in a very desperate 1v2. Info is at a bare minimum for both of these teams right now. So Happy's got to be incredibly careful, but the way he plays this out is he has no idea where to expect the last 2 players.
He does have the smoke though, so he can smoke off a position and maybe try and grab the bomb and rotate off if that's the play. He's going to smoke towards CT, just holding off, making sure that no one can come and surprise him from a specific angle in the back. That's what he's afraid of right now, trying to find duels. CT's now smoked. He knows that, okay, they're not behind me, there's one on the side. He's kind of slowly but surely eliminating the opportunities that the CTs have, and for now, they're just happy with Neptune dueling on the back of this bomb site. And he's going to win that duel straight up with a FAMAS. Very nicely done by Neptune.
Just didn't give Happy any options, really, at the end of the day. Neptune was playing incredibly safe. His teammate wasn't showing any face. And remember, Happy didn't really have the intel about where his teammate was positioned from anyway. So Neptune had the advantage in that fact that even if he goes down, and great shots again from Steel, by the way. We completely forgot about that. But yeah, at the end of the day, Happy does a great job of extending the duel, because he knew when he was overexposing himself. You could see he backed up into Checkers more than once there. He knew exactly how to play that. He just didn't have any options because Ghost was also playing it correctly.
Steel coming in clutch with the ult. Neptune trying to bring an early advantage to his team, but Molo on the boost is going to be the play for now as Wardell takes the position. And 2 players now committing to this mid control from the CT side. They know that in an eco like this where Desert Eagle comes into mid, that could be a big problem. They could definitely get an opening if someone sneaks up on short or something. So just keep it focused on this on this mid setup to make sure that the Deagles cannot get into advantageous positions. Sabrosa also being boosted into the vent. They're just making sure that Vitality cannot surprise them at this point.
For Vitality themselves, they're still looking to keynote this round with the start at mid it would be, but also presence already being established. Both A-Main and Squeaky leaves those options open too. Apex is just going to walk right in. Unfortunately, the one angle he's been checking consistently is the one that will throw him off at the end. Sabrosa finds the kill from that side, and a great push from Kusta to drop the bomb and get another kill on top of it. Happy will move in from Squeaky to trade out a few kills and actually make quite a bit of an impact, but goes down at the end of the day and gives the round to Ghost.
Yeah, nicely done to get 2 frags in a round where you didn't really have much anyway, but still 3 weapons going over to the next one for Ghost, so they're completely fine with their economy, and it's going to grow into the next one as well. And they have the economy, they have the momentum advantage, they have the players stepping up, you have the players who are not usually like on the top end of the scoreboard, like Steel, for example, getting good frags. Ghost really have this one so far on like a decent lockdown. Vitality needs to bounce back, just like we saw Envy in that first game. They're finding themselves in a like troublesome scenario where the individual players of the team will have to step up and do something extraordinary to kind of pull the game back in their favor, because right now, Ghost is just driving away with it.
So far unchallenged on this CT side, but only 4 rounds in, with this one being the 5th. Plenty of time still for Vitality to contest that, as Ghost need to run 5 more straight here to be able to pick up a win. As for Vitality, with only 3 rounds behind, they've got a chance to still bounce back into it, but they need that game-changing round. So far, they haven't been able to find it. And on this round, they're just having trouble finding anything at all, it would seem. Ghost are doing a great job with their utility of denying Vitality vision, let alone any chances to pick up any kills, and it's giving Ghost a lot of room to work with the map aggressively here.
One thing that I would also note now Sabrosi is just checking this angle and saying, okay, there's nothing here. We could probably rotate, C1 rotate off towards the A-bomb side in 10 seconds. But Vitality are using so many flashes on taking map control and securing angles so they can take advantages duels. It seems like they're kind of afraid of the setup that Ghost have. We saw the explosion flash into checkers, for example, for RPK to check that. They're doing that all over the map, and they don't have any flashes left for the execute now. There's only a couple of smokes and some Molotovs, actually one Molotov for this execute, but it's still a 4v3, so it's definitely doable, but a critique point for sure to lose that many flashes early on.
Ghosts know the hit's coming to A, though. They've already rotated all 3 of their remaining players here. Wardell strikes twice, actually, before even being challenged, and still might not get challenged in a second here. The Squeaky player can't move his way out. RPK shows up just a little bit too late, and while he could have found better impact, he is immediately traded out by Steel after he picks up his first kill, giving the round over to Ghost once again.
And like, to reiterate myself, basically knowing the position that Sabrosa checked towards checkers after RPK taking it early on, seeing, okay, there's no one here, they showed presence earlier, it's completely clear, let's rotate so we have a man advantage on the bomb side, and the fact that they didn't have any flashbangs going into that execute, it's just these small things, even though they have a 4v3 scenario Vitality in this situation, because of those two like kind of factors, that changes the round completely, even though it's a one-man advantage wherever they want to go. They still manage to like drop the round anyways because Ghosts just have a perfect read and they force them to use that much like utility in the beginning of the round because they're scared. They're scared of just Ghost players going out and doing incredible things in the early or mid part of the round. And when you're Vitality, you have to constantly have that mentality of just, you're the best team. We don't want to waste flashes, we just want to go in straight and take the duels, but right now they're showing so much respect to Ghost that it seems like the world has turned on its head. Apex is going to get straight up pushed down, and Neptune's just going to get the double entry. CT-wise, they're pushing out, they're playing aggressively. Vitality are falling apart right now.
Just no response at all from Vitality on
no
that push.
respect from Ghost.
Yeah, that's the and that bounces really well off your point you were just making as well there about how much Ghost is allowed to get away with in these rounds. There's another one.
Exactly.
It's honestly just comical at this point because Ghosts are being allowed to make these aggressive plays, and it's very, very rarely being punished by Vitality. Like, the round just continues to get worse. The odds continue to stack against them. The nade also pretty much on point here as well, near max damage on RPK, in addition to knocking off 25 to 30 HP from NBK as well. So this is just another world-class performance here from Ghost on this round.
It's just a strange mentality because Vitality are on the other side of this when they usually play their online games. They're just going to go straight into duels, no respect to the opposition because they play so many lower tier teams. But then when they come up against a higher tier team, you see them constantly in situations where they want to flash themselves in because they're not sure that they can win a straight 50-50 duel. And Ghosts are just going to take that advantage any day of the week because they know if they push the timing correctly, they're just going to take that duel and find someone with a flash in their hand. And you can lose a straight up duel here. Neptune just having a monster of a round. 4 kills from him, from the youngster. And Vitality just nowhere to be found on the server.
And you talk about players that are looking to prove themselves. We were talking about ZywOo. Neptune is another one.
Yeah.
It's very, very young. I think he's one of those players that's actually younger than CS itself, if memory serves me correctly. And he's really looking to prove himself, not only for his team, but also just on the NA stage overall here. He's only recently been admitted, you know, he's only reached age where he can play in most tournaments within the last, like, 6 to 12 months, I think.
Yeah, really good showing so far. 15-11 scoreline. He's showing they can stand up against some of the greats of French Counter-Strike in Vitality. Definitely some great names on that lineup, but we haven't really seen their shine so far in this game. It's been a decent setup for them. Yes, they haven't fallen completely through, but it's been nowhere near where we expect Vitality to be. And that's also a problem for Vitality. There's so many expectations, and they're so big for them to do very well, but they're constantly just falling a tad short.
Well, it's going to be quiet at the beginning of this round from Vitality. You can quite obviously see the big stack of players they have ready to move in towards checkers. And there's going to be players in A-main too, but the A-main players are so far behind. So this is just a very straightforward push coming in from Squeaky, and it doesn't end up going so well. It was 1-for-1 trades, left the bomb down, but ultimately with Apex getting picked by the op, it's going to leave just NBK standing. They've seen him now, and in a 1v3 with a massive gun disadvantage, nothing that can be done by that last player on Vitality. It's another easy shutdown from Ghost.
You can just see the eyes locked between Steel and James there. Like, they know now, okay,
we got this.
We got this, guys. We have completely read what they're gonna do, and at this point they're out of pages in the strat book. There's no more they can throw at us. We're just gonna win this game straight up, unless something insane happens. And we have to constantly say this. That is a factor. ZywOo can at all times just pick up something crazy, and that can spur the whole team on. But we haven't seen it yet. That's a problem, because that's usually what we see in online games when they go down. ZywOo picks up like a 1v4 out of nowhere. But we haven't seen any of that so far. We have one round in this game so far. He reads the boost here. Very nicely done, playing a passive angle, making sure that Wardell is not going to get an advantage on him.
And Kuste is going to try to splash himself out into the open and then back out through A main, but it'll fail, and RPK will also find a kill on a Subrose. The numbers from Ghost are dropping out of the sky right now. It's down to just stealing a 1v5, and the hope for him was pretty much done before he even started his opportunity there. As we do, out of seemingly nowhere, just as you were mentioning it too, Vitality do pick up a round, and it's off the back to a certain extent of ZywOo. Yeah,
and that's a turnaround from ZywOo, especially because he's been taking so many aggressive, like, very overconfident peaks so far in the game. And in this round, he's saying, okay, I know they play aggressive in aim. They want to take control. They want to get in our face and try and challenge us. I'm just going to stay back and trust my aim, because in a straight 1v1 duel, I know that I can win it. So just stay back, and he wins those double duels. And that's like, it's not 2 entries, but it's basically taking off the big brunt of that A side defense. And his teammates can just rotate in and win the round straight off of his 2-man advantage. And that's where he gets really crazy, because yes, he's a flashy player and he can jump out and get all this stuff done, but if you face him in straight 1v1s where it's 50-50, he'll most of the time win that duel because he's so good mechanically. But sometimes he pushes himself into situations that aren't 50-50 because he's so confident in his skill. And that's still one of the things with being a young player, you have to work on that.
Also, that last round, very first one on the T side that Vitality has picked up so far. So it's a good start for them. The problem is here now, where exactly is it going to go? Because this is a bad follow-up onto a pretty good start, although Apex corrects it. Apex does manage to take out Steelback by Sunroom. They've now cleared out the B halls for a take if they want to try to move in through mid, which currently is uncontested, so they could very easily move in for vents control and then just take the B halls on top of that. But it looks like they're just going to skip the vents and go straight in through halls at this point.
It's a Molotov on Apex, which can be used to clear the back corner. Can be thrown from Sunroom. Happy and ZywOo now moving in. Always have to check that vent, but it's not been broken yet. They're going to go into the bomb side now, but Subrose is ready and waiting.
And of course, given the intel in the process, tries to go for 2 kills and just barely comes out with the second one before being traded by Apex. Even knew Apex was there back by Team Main. But of course, does the most he can do given the current position he was playing from. Now it's all going to fall to Apex to keep his team alive here, to keep his team in the fight for this map and prevent them from dropping out in the lower bracket. He's got the spot on a Wardell's op. He knows he's playing from heaven up top. Even spots Neptune to be able to take him down too. The nade actually reads into it pretty well. He's going to be a little bit behind, and Wardell will walk right up to get, in this map anyway, his third 1v1 closeout at the end of a round.
Very nicely done clutch-wise by the young player. But also one thing that I'd like to highlight is the fact that Steel is allowed to go aggressively with the AWP into B halls and get 2 individual 1v1s. There's no refrag potential from the T side. We see that there. RPK is just holding the angle, and the other player is in mid. And the second that RPK dies, NBK rotates in to try and take the duel, but there's no refrag potential for either one of those duels. So they basically have the mid and the B player trying to take straight 1v1s against Steel with an AWP. And that's just not going to work out because he can always edge in on that angle. So I kind of feel like when you have that setup, when you have a B and a mid player and the rest focus on the other side of the map, you have to at least be in a refrag scenario where if someone goes for a duel and he doesn't get it, you can always go in and grab the refrag. In this scenario, that didn't happen, and Steel was allowed to get 2 frags to start the round for free.
So we're coming down to the wire with Ghost having the capability to shut out the map right now. Kuste tries to push the envelope a little bit here by pushing himself into A main, but is only able to go 1 for 1 with an immediate trade coming out from another member of Vitality. NBK, who found that trade, is also going to follow it up with a second one as he now moves out through A main. It's ZywOo to strike as well. Wardell trying to stay alive on the back corner of the site. He's running out of space very quickly, and on his teammates, as he's going to be left the last man standing for Ghost this time. Happy will shut him out. And the players from Vitality will keep themselves alive now at 10-15.
But still a problem only surviving with 2 players. Yes, they bring an AWP and some utility into the next round, but still economy taking a hit. And that's the problem right now, because they seem to struggle stringing rounds together right now, this Vitality lineup. Yes, sometimes a player will come in and make a big advantage and they'll grab a lot of map control and win the round off of that, but it's not consistent. They're not consistently winning rounds. And Ghost know, okay, yes, we could potentially force buy into this and we could get something like a decent chance of winning it, but we're ahead with 5 rounds. There's no reason to do that. Let's just take an eco, get that full buy going, might even take a double eco at this point if they want, because they're so far ahead, they only need that 1 round. And the economy is still, like, if they take 2 frags maybe off Vitality at this point, they can keep that economy low also. So Ghost Gaming with every part of control of this game so far. And even if they can grab a single 50 kill here, that would be perfect. But Apex is not going to let that happen.
Vitality's reading into this in a very smart way right now. Yeah, and Happy specifically just tearing up that entire 3-man setup on the A side, which probably would have worked pretty well if they hadn't mollied the forklift position.
Yeah.
But they do read into it, as I was saying. Vitality plays this smart and have minimized any risk against their 5 players, as Ghost, unfortunately, are not going to be left with any opportunity to do much at all between Steel and Sabrosa here. Now just Sabrosa. He'll probably try to take a duel for himself, but will come out on the losing end of it, as it is going to be Apex that finds the last 2 kills on the round and secures 11 for Vitality.
Yeah, and we're going to see the double eco now, surely, for Ghost coming out. Just had a glance over the money, and it's not looking good, so going to probably see sets of Desert Eagles, maybe Caesar 75, potentially an Explosion Flashbang into A main or B main, just to see if they can get something done. And no Deagles, actually. It's going to be saved all for the investment into the next coming round. No explosion play either, only the P250 and smoke on Steel. So not a big investment into this round, Ghost. They want to make sure that they have every single piece of utility and the opportunity to maybe get an AWP going in that next round so they can shut this down once and for all. But Vitality, they're still going to keep on trucking. This one should be a nice confidence booster for them coming into round number 20 straight after this one.
Molly's going out to the quad for the execute. No presence currently there from Ghost, but they are going to shift a player to the inside of it, or at least trying to by moving Wardell. Neptune will be available for a trade, but it's only going to be one. The same story instead of Kusta, who is playing directly on the plant spot on site. Steel managed to scavenge an AK off of one of the down bodies, but really only has that to play off of, as Sabrosa has quite literally just a base buy. A single base pistol, and then there's nothing else supporting him. So more than likely this is going to get saved, especially now with Sabrosa being found on the other side of A main. And the round will go to Vitality at 12-15, with Steel looking to maybe get 1 or 2 kills if at all possible.
Spots one and gets
There's
the
one.
crack. Now a 1v2, but no kid. There's not really a chance for him to win this round. He just wants to do as much economical damage as he can, and still like 3 kills going in. Kind of shaking the confidence. This should have been a very confident round coming out of Vitality. They're basically up against a full eco, 1 P250 and 1 smoke being invested, and they end up losing 3 players. That's not a good sign coming into this very important round, where it's going to come down to maybe the opening pick with an AWP, or the opening entry frag onto a side with an AK, or the answer from an M4. You're going to want that confidence to be on point, and I think maybe a timeout is going to be taken, maybe not, just to make sure that everything is on, everyone is on the same page, everyone wants to come in, and yeah, there we go.
Ghost,
I was expecting it, yeah.
I was expecting it more to come from Vitality's side, considering how pivotal this upcoming round is going to be. But Ghost themselves, as you were mentioning, just want to double check their strat and the buy, more importantly, before going into this round, making sure they have it ironed down, as they've committed a lot. The 2 full save rounds in a row this late into the game, they committed to being able to work this buy, so they have to make sure it goes appropriately. Otherwise, at minimum, Steel's going to be pretty mad.
One thing I would love to see right now is just a quick, really, really fast execute with Molotovs from the Ghost Gaming guys, or from the Vitality guys, to see if they can do something just to pry open that very secluded, very safe bomb site that has been so far for Ghost. It's not going to be the full-on rush. They're still going to have 1 guy in B just to make noise to begin with. That's Apex. They're going to make a lot of noise. And Wardell and the guys are just pushing into door. The rest of the team are setting up here in A main. They're going to get the boost on again, and Sabrosa is still alive. Sabrosa with another one.
RPK went unnoticed, though, so he's able to find at least a single trade. Kusta is there for the recommitment to the inside of A main, though, and he makes sure that RPK is not able to get away. It's the stolen pistol round strat to a certain degree that we end up seeing at the end of the day from Ghost. It was what Vitality used at the beginning of their CT side on pistol, but ends up working for Ghost to maybe shut this game down now, as it's all down to Apex in a 1v3 to try and keep his team in the fight. If he can pull it off, it's incredible. It's going to put Ghost into an eco territory once again, in addition to letting his team run all the way up to round 30. But still, so much time gone by. Such an impossible clutch, but he starts it off well. The first kill on Neptune blindly peeks into A main as well, which is going to prove incredibly dangerous, but Kusta will shut him down, stop the clutch before it goes too far, and give Ghost their opening tournament victory here to push them forward in the upper bracket.
Very nicely done on the defense, knowing that Vitality are a big fan of the slow executes towards that A-bomb side, not really putting up the speed as I was talking about. And then you can really go into that smoke setup where you can put it boost up and just take that control. If you don't have Cyber in that position, as we saw 5 rounds ago, then it's very hard to stop that aggressive CT take. And then it's just Ghost Gaming straight on grabbing it. Very nicely done.
Yeah, and Ghost Gaming overall just dominated completely from their CT side. It was a solid 8 or 9 rounds straight before we saw even a single round on that T side picked up by Vitality. And even then, it was just a streak of 3 rounds they tried to find for themselves, which was eventually beaten because of the 15x scoreline that they had established at that point. Just too much to crawl back from, unfortunately, in the late game for Vitality. We were starting to see some good things from them, but they didn't have enough mistakes to be made at that point in order to bring them back into the game fully.
And that's the thing with Vitality right now. Like, we see how far they can go in some of these rounds. We see the individual skill of the players. We see the setup, the way that they read the game, especially NBK, of course, but also Happy. Like, there's definitely opportunity there, but at this point, it's just not completely there yet. And of course, we have the analysts to break it down even more. Take it over, Trace.
Yeah, thank you, guys. You know, that was an interesting showing nonetheless. They say slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Well, in this case, a 5-round start to the game is not going to necessarily net you the win. It was a strong start from Vitality, but what did we see go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, what really went wrong is kind of what we were talking about in the pregame, how good Steel is at directing this Ghost team into changing the pace, having a good foundational default, and mid-rounding from it, but then those set pieces come in, right? Those set B splits, those, you know, really fast attacks on the A bomb site, Wardell's AWP being a factor all throughout the round. I feel like they were just so good at mid-round reading their opponents, so good at throwing in pacing changes and catching off Vitality. You know, they reset them hard twice, I think, towards the end of that first half, so no money ever got established Vitality on their CT side. Weirdly enough, ZywOo didn't even get an op until 10 rounds into the half. Like, they were letting NBK and Apex use it first, which was really weird. So definitely some shaky stuff from Vitality in a really strong first half from Ghost, and then it just continued on into the second half.
Yeah, but at the same point in time, too, NBK's op actually looked pretty good in one of the rounds that he did have it, but this is the man we were watching the whole game was Wardell. Wardell's op was basically key for the side of Ghost. Without
As
his
it
op,
always is.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, you know, going back maybe 6 months even, you would say Wardell is probably one of the biggest issues with this team.
Sure.
Super inconsistent, couldn't really find his footing on land, let games get into his head constantly. That is not the case anymore. This is when he 4K'd in the pistol to solidify the A-site defense. Like, that was what he did over and over and over and over.
And what you won't see in the highlight reel is just kind of the nitty-gritty stuff that Ghost does well. They use their utility so well in the first half on T side to take these small pieces of map control and make like one player get flushed out so they could get like a quick 5-on-4. They did it at B a couple of times with like set Molotovs on Checker in the big box outside B main. So they're just really good at staging around. Like, okay, let's take some initial control here, let's find a favorable duel here, and let's roll off of that into, you know, a clean round. And they did that so often. I mean, they got good production out of a lot of their players there. Meanwhile, not so much from Vitality.
Well, the numbers are not going to lie. Wardell put up a good fight. Kusta not far for just reading the frags, but ultimately, this Ghost lineup seems like a well-oiled machine. It seems like they have the pieces needed, and I know James RL puts in a ton of work behind the scenes, but one man that's on the front lines would be the guy that we're going to have the pleasure to talk to. It's going to be Mr. Josh Nissan, Mr. Steele. Sir, good to talk to you early on in the tournament.
How's it going?
Not bad, my friend. I'm actually just going to turn over these guys. They probably have something to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, on the CT side, you guys had a dominant half, right? Just to kind of skip over to that. It seemed like you guys were really being aggressive all across the map. Like, you basically won the round off of like a double squeaky A main push. You had to push B with an op as well earlier in the half. Was that kind of what you wanted to do? Was that the game plan, was to be assertive on the CT side from the get-go?
I think they were pretty readable. Like, there wasn't, it didn't feel like there was much depth to their plays. So when we figured like, oh, they're not pressuring B, and when they do, they're usually going B. So I'm just like, okay, like I'll just push it this round. But there was no like real, like, hey, let's just start this game by pushing everything. I think we started actually playing pretty reserved and pretty far back, and we just kind of felt out the game. And once we felt out that they weren't really doing much, like they'd either do fast stuff or they'd do slow stuff where they weren't B, or like we could catch one guy off guard at A main or one guy off guard at door.
Now, you say they were pretty readable in the game. How easy was it to research this team before the game? Because they don't really have that much to go off of. The sample size is really small.
I looked at the map list that they play, and I realized that they like to play Inferno, Nuke, and Cache. I figured it would come down to one of those 3 maps. So I watched one game of each map against a UK team. I think it was called Fierce, and it was pretty much like the same stuff. So it was pretty easy. Yeah, it's like, oh, this is the round that they're gonna like fake B, and then they're gonna go 2-door. Watch out for that. And they did it. I'm like, okay, well, good luck. Or the other round, they dropped 5 people down with pistols and rushed B as a CT, and had 2 AKs run to Sunroom. Like, they're not even the B guys, and they just got 5 kills for free. So it's like, you can't really do the same stuff over and over, especially if like the sample size is so small. Like you have so much room for like gimmicks and other things like that.
Well, you know, Josh, I want to ask you this. I mean, because we get to see from a big picture how the French scene is, what's kind of expected of this Vitality lineup. What's your overall take on the French scene as it stands?
I think that they do have enough talent to put together a good team, but I think that egos and I guess like peer-to-peer relations aren't like healthy enough so that they can get all of the best players onto one team. And I think that they're also kind of playing kind of in the past, because they used to be like the #1 team where like, you know, there's at least 10, maybe even 15 French players that used to be on the top 5 team consistently teams for 2-3 years running. And it's like, they can't keep playing that same way. They need to kind of adapt to this new style, and they can't have that like, oh, I used to be the best ego type of thing. They need to just be like, all right, like I need to work my way back up. And I think that's like the #1 thing holding them back, that and not getting the right pieces on in the puzzle on the same team.
Well, the opposite end of that is it seems like you do have the right pieces of the puzzle on your team. Like, you've brought a lot of leadership to this team, something that some of the NA teams have lacked. You also frag pretty well for an in-game leader, which not many North American in-game leaders can do. And you have Wardell, who's just killing it with the AWP. But if I were to ask you, like, what do you think the main reason is your team's been so successful, what would you say it is?
Attitude. Good attitude. I think it's really easy to be able to go and look at our mistakes and not have people just be like, I can't believe he said that. Like, you just need to be able to just say like, this was like not good. Here's like alternatives that you could do, and just like be able to be self-critical. Just be like, this was a bad play. I'm not going to do that again, and I know why. Or have other people say, hey, like in this situation do this, in this situation do that. Because without that attitude, you're never going to improve. So even though the players that I'm playing with are less experienced or haven't been playing as long or whatever the case may be, they're actually like improving at some point, at some level. So
they're
that's
also
like
clowns, like that guy.
Yeah, they are all clowns. So.
Well, Josh, thank you for taking the time out of what you guys have going on with the rest of your day here, and congratulations on winning your opening match. I'm sure we'll be catching up in the near future.
Cheers.
Guys, closing thoughts on that matchup. Perhaps, Dust, you want to get like a, you know, like one for the road here, like a one quick yo les noobs, or
Yikes.
I'm just one out.
Why does that have to happen?
No, I'm just saying, it's for old time's sake, man. It's not a big deal. Everybody make.
I mean, you did fire me live on air once.
That happened.
So I don't know which one was worse.
I'm gonna not say anything because, you know, I'm just trying to keep my road of recovery
in all reality, let's bring in some closing thoughts here with the debut of Vitality.
You know, definitely kind of matching their online performances so far. Disappointing, like not really where we want them to be. Ghost in the meantime continues to impress, continues to really kind of climb the NA rankings.
Yeah, I'd say ultimately what we saw from Vitality is what we expected. Strong individual play, maybe a little bit weak in leadership. They need to just kind of spend more time playing together. I think given time, that team could actually be pretty good. I don't think they'll be as good as people maybe expect them to be, but I still think they'll be better than they were today. Well,
you can be better than you are right now, currently in this moment. You can be better. And you want to know how? You want to know why I say so? Because you need to head over to the Strafe Esports app on your Google Play or iOS store. Head over there and pick it up so you can keep along with these matches while you're at work, you're at school, you're doing, I don't know, tanning bed. I don't know what you do with your time. Anyway, yeah, head over there, head up and download that Strafe Esports app, because there's only one true way to stay tuned in and locked into this game. We're going to be going to our next best of one. It's going to be eUnited and Luminosity Gaming squaring off on one map here at the DreamHack Open Atlanta, and you don't want to miss it. Because by God, I'm sure we won't. We'll be right back.